I'm Patty Ann Brown, and you are in the Strategy Room, a debate over eligibility. In recent years, Barack Obama and John McCain faced questions on whether they could legally become president, and now Ted Cruz is fighting off jabs from his competitors regarding whether his Canadian birth disqualifies him from the race. So who can settle this question once and for all? Joining us now, Democrat Ellen Ratner in D.C. and Republican Robert O'Brien joining us from L.A. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.
So Cruz was born in Calgary.
Nice to be with you, Patty Ann.
Good to be with you both. So Cruz was born to an American mother and a Cuban father in Canada. And Article 2 of the Constitution says a presidential candidate must be at least 35, a resident of the U.S. for 14 years, and a natural-born citizen. That phrase is not further defined. So who should determine whether Cruz can still run? Is it the Department of Justice, the Federal Election Commission, the courts? Robert?
Well, I think Donald Trump would like to make that determination, but I don't think it'll fall to Mr. Trump. Look, ultimately, it's a political question. So Ted Cruz is going to be on the ballot. If he's elected president of the United States, there's only one way to remove the president of the United States. It's not through a lawsuit, but it would be through impeachment in Congress. That won't happen. As far as getting on the ballot, generally it's the Secretary of State for each state that determines the candidates and the eligibility of the candidates to go on the ballot. If a Secretary of State decides not to place a candidate on the ballot, then that would be open to a court challenge, and so that challenge would go up through the courts into the Supreme Court. But I have a hard time believing here that a court would keep Senator Cruz off the ballot if he's the Republican nominee for President of the United States.
Ellen, as Robert mentioned, GOP frontrunner Donald Trump repeatedly suggesting Cruz is not eligible to run for president. He tweeted Wednesday, quote, "Sadly, there is no way that Ted Cruz can continue running in the Republican primary unless he can erase doubt on eligibility. Dems will sue." Trump has cited law professor Lawrence Tribe. Cruz dismisses Tribe as, quote, "a liberal left-wing judicial activist Harvard professor who is a huge Hillary supporter." Ellen, is Trump right? Will the Democrats sue if Cruz is nominated?
I think Mr. Trump would sue if anybody sues, but I do think it will go to the Supreme Court if he is the nominee. I have no doubt about that. And then the Supreme Court, depending on whether they sort of see the Constitution as a living document, something that changes with the time, or is it something that is static, as some Supreme Court justices see? So that would be how things were in the late 1700s when the Constitution was written.
2 days ago, the Washington Post ran an opinion from constitutional law professor Mary Bridget McManaman. She states bluntly, quote, "Ted Cruz is not eligible to be president." She says natural born and naturalized are two different things. Yes, he's automatically naturalized because his mother was American, but it doesn't change the fact that he was not born on U.S. soil. Robert, as you know, many other constitutional scholars disagree. But can Cruz put this to rest quickly? Time is critical here.
I think so, and I think the fact that Donald Trump is attacking him shows that Trump is very worried about Ted Cruz. I think it helps Ted Cruz with establishment Republicans who've been a little slow to come to his campaign. There was an article yesterday about people like Andy Puzner coming over to, considering Ted Cruz and other establishment folks. I think this differentiation between Cruz and Trump works to Cruz's advantage. Look, we've had a number of folks run for president of the United States who were not born within the United States. George Romney, famously in 1968, who was born in Mexico to American parents, ran. It was never an issue. Barry Goldwater was born in the territory of Arizona before it was a state. It wasn't an issue. John McCain was born in Panama in the Canal Zone. So I don't think this is an issue. Natural-born American citizen by the vast majority of constitutional scholars, including conservatives like Hugh Hewitt and others, believe that that means being born to an American parent. And there's no question that his mom was an American parent. He was not naturalized. He did not come and apply for a green card. He had his citizenship by birthright, and the birthright came through his mother. And frankly, I don't think Hillary Clinton would sue on this. I think after defending Barack Obama for 8 years on birther claims that were just as spurious as the claim being made against Ted Cruz, the Democrats would not be helping themselves politically, and I don't think any Hillary campaign manager would want that suit to go forward. It would look poor for her.
All right. The issue, Ellen, is how to further define natural-born citizens. Some scholars relying on common law interpretation. That's what the Supreme Court has said should be used for clarification of constitutional terms. Others looking at some statutes from the 18th century. It all gets into the legal weeds. But if it does have to be decided by the courts, Ellen, when might that process begin?
The courts have been known to take certain issues on very, very quickly and not go through the regular court session. So my guess is that if he is the nominee and the courts are sued and he needs to decide it, will go very, very quickly up the ladder to the Supreme Court, and they would decide that very quickly as well.
All right. Ellen Ratner, Robert O'Brien, thank you both.
Thank you.
And for more on the 2016 presidential race, go to foxnews.com. I'm Patty Ann Brown. Thanks for watching.